What is going on, sports card fiends? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we're here with a video on why a USMNT young player is not equivalent to a European young player in terms of the card market. So oftentimes I'll see this in, any area of chat that you can have online. There will be some people discussing USMNT, and typically the people that are discussing US players that then get just laughed at and scoffed at and called idiots because there's European young guys that are way better than they are. So why shouldn't the Europeans be worth significantly more to thus be better or equal to the American young guys? And you know what I'll say to that? I understand your frustration. I get it. I understand. You have, other players that are cheaper that you in your mind, you're like, that makes no sense. Why would that be the case? That player's not better than the other one. It's because it doesn't matter. This is all stupid Fugazi fairy dust. Nice little Rudy plug there, but I mean, this is a piece of cardboard with a player's face on it. This is stupid in theory. It shouldn't be worth much of anything. So if you can admit to that, you can admit that you don't have to understand why things are the way they are. You just have to accept it, and from there, maybe you can build some sort of understanding. But whatever your perspective is on a subject does not matter, because the market will do what the market wants to do. So whenever pieces of cardboard go sky high in price the last year or two, to most people that would seem silly. To us, we're like, wow, that makes tons of sense. And you know why that is? Because we have an entirely different perspective on what is happening here. So back to the Pulisic from earlier, this, again, is a piece of cardboard with a person's face on it. Simply put, that is what it is. Some people in the hobby will laugh at that and be like, oh, it's more than that. Well, of course it is. Why is it more than that? Is it a set that you like? Is it a player that you like? Is it an iconic picture? Is it an iconic framing? Is it from their rookie year? Is it numbered? Do you have a special connection with the player? Do you have a rooting interest going forward? Did they impact you in some sort of way? All of these, plus many more, are the questions you have to ask yourself when buying a piece of cardboard. And so, when people ask themselves that question, relative skill level in a game does matter. They obviously would like to buy maybe a better player, but as you saw before, there's 15, 20, 30 other questions you could ask yourself about buying a card that does not involve skill level. And so that's why we arrive where we do, because at the end of the day, in the current standing of the market, there are going to be a lot of people that start to pick up and enjoy soccer in America. What that means is they'll venture towards soccer cards. What that means is those prices will probably go up because soccer is so scarce. And so because the demand is there and because the cards are scarce, you're going to see those price hikes and those spikes that you see. And you might not see that with European guys because there isn't that demand there yet. Maybe at some point that is the case. In my opinion, I think even once Europe starts to really get into the hobby more and more, I think they'll tend towards older stuff. I don't think they'll do as much prospecting on young guys because I think that's more of an American gambling thing that we like to partake in. So with that said, there's a lot more built-in hype to Americans, and that doesn't make it wrong. That just is what the market is. So hopping on over here to Card Ladder, I'm going to check out some Pulisics and see how they performed over the last 3 months. If you guys want to, you can check out the site down below. If enough people use the link, I get the pro version back because I actually unsubscribed from the pro version. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have no reason to sell them as more than they are. Honestly, Card Ladder is terrible for soccer cards. Everything else, honestly, really nice site, especially for the price point. But for soccer, they don't do anything. Like if I look up Pogba, I see 7 results, and it's 2018 Prism and 2018 Silver Prism, which is the most absurd thing I've ever seen. And that is what Card Ladder is. So that's why I don't subscribe to the longer service anymore. At this point, I have a good understanding of what soccer stuff they had on. I've already seen it. So if we look here at the Pulisics, one thing I'd like to note is that, the market's been tanking, right? The market in general, the last 3 to 4 months has been pretty terrible, huh? But yet, you look down here, Christian Pulisic, they haven't risen, but they're right back where they were 3 months ago. I mean, there was a little bit of a dip, sure. Maybe it went down to 120, 125, but for the most part, stayed pretty strong. And you wonder why that is, even during a time where I'm sure the pops were rising a lot for this card because it's a base card, and we can tell it stayed steady. Now, that's an indicator from me that there's strong support in terms of collectors and people that just want the card. And you can tell that, I mean, it stayed strong during a time where it really shouldn't have. Sure, the United States won the Nations League, and maybe they had a little bump in here. I mean, you know, it might have done a little something, but at the end of the day, Nations League is a very small thing on what is a large scale for these guys. So it means very little, and his prices have stayed really strong. While we go on over here to someone like Jadon Sancho, this is, of course, a lot higher pop card, I will admit that. 1,100 pop compared to the 316 we saw before, but, I mean, that's going to make it even worse in my opinion because he just won't have the same type of demand. But we see here, 3 months ago, 160, now 90, 42% drop, and, you know, when you have cards with this much pop, and not, I mean, who's collecting Jadon Sancho Donruss? Like, sure, you might have one for the PC, but it's just hard. It's hard because to justify spending $100 on someone you want to collect, especially when there's this much pop, and I mean, there's a lot of variables. It is tough to think that, you know, as this pop continues to rise and as people see all the nines, and even when there's some raw, that, you know, there's just not going to be a surplus of them on the market, especially compared to the base that wants to collect Jadon Sancho PSA 10s. I just don't see it. Now, maybe if you want to invest and flip, maybe, but again, when you look at like a Pulisic and there's 316 pop compared to, you know, 1,100 and going to rise even substantially more, it's just hard to really think that people are making the right decision on Euro guys. Sure, they might be better, but who's the buyer? Who's willing to pay that? And that's what we're finding out over time. Now, if I go on over to another American here, we got Gio Reyna. This is basically the top 2 Americans. I'd use other Americans, honestly, but Card Ladder, again, shit at soccer, so they don't have any up here other than the main guys. And so, going over to Gio Reyna, looking here, 3 months ago, 150. A pretty good peak during Nations League right there, I will admit. Followed by a very substantial dip right there. I don't know what happened. I wish I would have topped that. I actually don't remember that sale at all, but maybe it happened. Nonetheless, prices gone up a little bit, 8% over 3 months. And again, I mean, this is something that he has performed decently well recently, but I mean, even until then, he wasn't really doing much. Like, it's not like he's popped off or anything, and he's the same price. And keep in mind, this is during a downtime in the market. This was during a pretty substantial downturn, and we're sitting here with American guys still at the same price as they approach World Cup qualifiers, and then Champions League, and then World Cup. Like, there's just so much potential going forward for these guys, and even during the downtimes, they stayed strong. So that's a great indicator, again, that there's a base behind it. There are supporters here that want these cards. And if we go on over to, I could have picked any Mbappe. I picked 2017 Topps Chrome. Honestly, they all follow the same graph for the most part. Again, something that, I mean, this isn't even that high pop, honestly. 707, I mean, it's up there a little bit, of course, compared to other things, but compared to Jadon Sancho Donruss, not that bad. But looking here, 3 months time span, Mbappe did have, you know, Euro buzz, so I do understand it in that regard. But, you know, again, the Euro buzz thing is cool and it's fun to talk about, but is there actually that collector base or those people that are going to be influenced by the Euros enough to then want to buy it because they love the player, because they love the card, because they love the lineage, like whatever it is? Do they actually love it? And of course, Mbappe didn't really perform in the Euros at all, but at the same time, we saw the card go from $1,600 down to a little under 1,000, and did go as low as 700. So again, here, down 32%, could have been maybe a little bit more. The season is kicking off now, which could have these prices a little bumped up. Will they continue to go up from there or down from there? I don't know. It's going to be pretty dependent on cards and also the market as a whole. But overall, as you can see, once these cards are coming back from PSA and the players aren't doing anything, who cares about them? And you can tell with the Euro guys, I mean, Mbappe and Jadon Sancho are like two of the most hype young Euro players. Of course, there's others. I mean, I don't need to name them. But those other players don't hold the same value to people. They don't see them the same way. And so whenever someone gets a card back and wants to sell it, there just aren't enough buyers out there because there's not enough of those collectors or investors or whatever you want to label them as. There's not enough of them that care about these sections of the market. Now, again, that could change in the future, and again, I do expect that to happen over time. However, soccer is growing in America. You can say what you want about it. It's happening. Collectibles are growing in America. Say what you want. Again, it is happening. And so to think that all of these new soccer fans and all these new collectors are going to hop into the realm of soccer collecting and totally dismiss the USMNT and go for Euro guys instead because they're cheaper is so silly, because it's not going to happen. It's a pipe dream. These American fans, they do not care as much about these other people. And honestly, if they did go after European guys as much as the market wishes they wouldn't hold the same value. These people would buy the cards and then they'd look at them and they wouldn't value them like that because they don't have the same connection. They don't feel a certain way when they look at the cards. So it's much easier just to sell and say, whatever someone's willing to pay me, I'll take it because I do not care. While with the USMNT and the connections they'll build over, this long time horizon we have going forward, they will care. And that's the difference. Do you care about the piece of cardboard or do you not? And Americans are going to care more about American soccer players, and it is what it is. The sooner you accept it, the better off you will be, and the more at peace you will be with the hobby, because to sit back like an old man yelling at clouds makes no sense. Just chug along, do what you can, enjoy your time in the hobby, and we'll all be having a good time. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Anything you want to let me know in terms of this subject or others, would love to hear it in a comment down below. And on top of that, if you want some more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. And with that said, hopefully have a wonderful day and peace.